Let's watch global news go from optimistic to disappointed on election night. This stream, as you'll see, is incredibly biased. I wonder if these networks will ever stop being so biased.
Did you sense a shift, though, in the final week when there were some gaffes?
Oh, yes. The last week to 10 days for Trump were a disaster. Even his own people, at least confidentially off the record, would admit as much, that things hadn't gone well and Trump could not keep to the script and he wouldn't talk about the economy, which is...
Many people in the media and left-wing politics wanted this to be true so badly that Trump had a poor final week and that Madison Square rally was such a disaster. They wanted this to be true so badly.
The whole world is watching this election, Larry. Can you help us understand the Trump phenomenon? I know it's a big topic, but, you know, people from outside the country...
That is not a question you should be asking as a reporter in 2024. In 2016, when it was new, sure, if you do not understand the Trump phenomenon right now, you just do not understand politics. It's been going on for 9 years. Just sit there and study a little bit.
Watch it and watch him get away with saying outrageous things, insulting all kinds of people, calling his political opponents the enemy within. He's been convicted of a criminal offense, all that stuff. If you looked at it, you know, from zoomed out, you really couldn't make this stuff up, and yet it's happening. You're an American. Half of Americans appear to be voting for him.
Yes,
She sounds unbiased, eh?
And there is concern about political discourse here. I know you don't want to get deeply into partisan politics, and I don't either, but help us understand, you know, the anger, the way politicians talk about their opponents. Donald Trump calling Kamala Harris last night a radical leftist lunatic. He said worse things about Nancy Pelosi. Some Democrats, of course, including Kamala Harris, has called Trump a fascist. And they fear he's going to try to cling to power if he loses tonight. The rest of the world watches this and is worried about the state of America. Should we be worried?
Canada should not be clutching its pearls about the American election. There are major problems in Canada. The economy of Canada is equivalent to the poorest states in America. West Virginia and Mississippi, which I'm sure are nice places to live because they have a lower cost of living. Average home in Canada would be among the richest states for the price of that, but the economy is the economy of West Virginia and Mississippi. So you have a poor economy here and expensive homes. USA is in a much better place, actually, than Canada. Canada should not be like, oh my goodness, what's happening down there?
One county, it appears that Donald Trump has not won here, is his own county of Palm Beach, where we are right now. Of course, home to him is a...
So Global News, if you're not aware, is a Canadian company. This means absolutely nothing in the context of American politics. They bring this up twice for some reason.
The Canadian equivalent, if you like, of the Prime Minister failing to win his own riding. But at Mar-a-Lago, this is his home turf, but it is actually one of the only counties in Florida, it appears, Donna, that he did not win.
Pennsylvania really will be one to watch tonight for its results. What takes so long, though, the reason it took 4 days the last time around really is those mail-in ballots here. It's a long process.
All right, and that's what we're expecting again, right? I mean, maybe not as long as 4 days as it was in 2020, but certainly not going to be tonight.
No, and you can expect Donald Trump.
The confidence with which she said that. She was, of course, wrong. Pennsylvania was called during the night. And how can you just say it certainly will not be tonight that Pennsylvania will be called? Come on.
Outside, a woman and her daughter, adult daughter, could tell we were Canadians. Maybe it was the poppy, maybe it was the Mike Flash. When they found out we were Canadians, she came over, was so enthusiastic. She said, you know, if Harris doesn't win, we're coming to Canada. And she was, you know, people say this all the time, of course, but she seemed to really mean it, that this election just meant so much and that a loss would mean so much. So, you know, we're going to...
What do you think the odds are that those two people actually have moved to Canada?
Eric, we have some numbers on the Electoral College so far. Trump at 178, Harris at 99. But that isn't necessarily indicative of what's coming. It is, as Jackson Prosco next to me said, a bit of a red mirage at this point.
Yeah, and as Larry Sabato said, you could have predicted all of these states that are showing up right now about 6 months ago. The report on Wisconsin, Kamala Harris has a 3.5-point lead. She leads by 33,000 votes. In Michigan at the moment, she has a 6-point lead, 49,000. And Pennsylvania, and she has a lead right now of 4 points. This is a county that Biden won by about 4 points and Clinton won by about a point. So here's Harris for the moment. She's up by 18 or so points, almost 19 points.
So like other networks, it certainly seemed like Global News was trying to constantly paint the rosiest picture they could find for Kamala.
I think Democrats played it so cautiously for the entirety of the campaign, and they finally let themselves be optimistic in the last couple of days, just because the tide really did feel like it was turning. Those Puerto Rico comments at the Trump rally last Sunday actually are a moment that landed, and then Trump had a few really angry, undisciplined rallies. You know, some internals from the Harris campaign suggested that they are fully aware of how tight this would be, and that in some states like Georgia, they realize that the winner could be decided by not 10,000 votes, but maybe 1,000 votes.
Yeah.
Trump won Georgia by over 100,000 votes.
That's crazy. And that means, of course, that we're all expecting, we would love to have results tonight. But really, the longer this goes on and the longer those races are too close to call, the longer it's going to take, right?
Right.
I'm not exactly sure why Global News kept bringing this up, but it was a common theme throughout the night, the idea that the election results may be delayed.
Yeah. Well, and you know, vice presidents don't run the show, right, in the administration. So she probably in that point, she was part of the administration, couldn't take hugely differing views from her boss. I mean, that would have been unexpected.
Yeah, I mean, it is almost an unfair criticism of her to say, where was she the past 4 years? She was virtually invisible. I mean, other than that one big thing, what do you remember Mike Pence doing?
Yeah.
What do you remember previous vice presidents doing? Not a lot, right?
Yeah. In other words, did Kamala Harris, you know, really bring up the Democrats' game?
Yeah, well, the Democrats in general were winged by inflation. It didn't matter who was the candidate.
Oh, you don't think so, hey?
No. But I'm qualifying it. But
that woman really likes Kamala, it seems like. So this is the first time in the night Global News seems to at least acknowledge Kamala is not doing well.
But she is underperforming relative to Biden in 2020.
Where we are at this stage in the night, you mean? In terms of
where we are at this stage of the night,
yes.
Yeah.
All right.
So that's like a very Canadian way to express displeasure. Again, this host does not seem very unbiased to me.
These early signs about Trump leaning towards Trump in Georgia in particular. Are you making much of that at this stage, or is that we should be patient too?
Well, one, I think we should be patient, but two, you should also not be surprised if Donald Trump ends up winning Georgia and North Carolina.
And so are you expecting then that we're in for days of being patient?
I don't know about days. I think the thing that we want...
Again, why do they keep bringing this up?
Battle being played out between Trump and Harris at this stage.
Yeah, I mean, I know people kept saying, how can all the polls be so consistently similar, showing this dead heat, this too close to call scenario? Well, here we are tonight. I mean, the polls could not have been more accurate as it looks right now.
Are you joking? The polls were not accurate at all. This is not a close race. And at this point in the night, enough data had come in, if you were being honest, to easily recognize that. That was very obvious to just anybody pulling up a betting market, pulling up a general analysis of trends in the country. The polls were totally wrong. Again, this is not close. Trump was winning all over the country.
Well, we're down to really those three blue wall states as the key focus tonight. And the Harris campaign is telling its own staff tonight that, yes, the blue wall is really what they're focused on, and they are still optimistic. But it's too close to know which way this is going to go. And if you're Trump's team, you're just as optimistic right now.
Yeah, you're looking at those numbers too.
No, you're actually considerably more optimistic if you're the Trump's campaign at this point in the night. I don't understand the exact reason why these networks do this. It's just like losing credibility for what? Your audience has the internet. They can just Google what's happening in the race, not this 50-50 thing. Oh, the Trump side is just as optimistic as the Kamala side. Kamala needed a miracle at this point in the night to come back and win.
We're going to check in with Mike Armstrong, who is in Philadelphia. And was still no call in Pennsylvania, and we weren't expecting one. It sounds like you're fundamentally talking about identity politics.
And identity politics no longer simply means, demographic politics, your skin color, your religion, your gender, your sexual identity. No, it's also your ideology. It's your partisanship. It's your belief system. And so it's very interesting when Republicans slam diversity. What they're actually slamming is also the welter of people in their own camp who, identify in certain ways, but they don't take that into consideration. They reduce diversity strictly to skin color. And that's a way of letting themselves off the hook for how they've contributed to the culture wars.
That makes no sense whatsoever. Her point is kind of unclear, but the idea that Republicans shun diversity of thought is ridiculous. RFK Jr. was appointed to Health and Human Services. Tulsi Gabbard was just a Democrat. Now she's appointed Director of National Intelligence. Republicans are by far right now the party of diversity of thought, not the Democrats.
And the final way
Sure,
that he
why
would
not?
make history here tonight is by becoming the first convicted felon to be elected president of these United States.
Well, if you weren't going to say it, I was, Jeff, so thanks. And I don't.
This guy is out to lunch.
In particular, we've seen this has been an election in which Elon Musk and the X platform have played a really significant role, because this is a platform that has quite substantial reach in the United States. And that platform has, of course, been specifically bent. It's been reweighted to advantage one side over another. And that's never really happened before.
Prove it then. X's algorithm is open source. If you're going to say that, show in the algorithm where it's biased.
The past platforms have been very careful not to be seen to be partisan. And in this instance,
I mean, that is laughable. I'm sure most people watching this video maybe just laughed out loud the idea that all these other networks try really hard to not appear partisan. Are you kidding me? You're on a platform right now during this election stream that appears incredibly partisan to me.
one of them's gone, well, full MAGA.
Is there a way to gauge how that domestic disinformation campaign potentially affected or will affect the outcome tonight, or is it too difficult to try to connect those dots?
Look, I think we're going to see some direct effects in terms of, in particular, there was a lot of disinformation about migration and about LGBTQ plus people, in particular trans people, that we saw during this election, and in the run-up as well. Let's not forget, it's been the drip of disinformation over a 4-year period since 2020 that has been.
Or maybe it's just called free speech and some of it you don't like. Then refute the parts you don't like. This guy is giving me the creeps, to be honest.
Dripped and recolored the lens through which so many Americans view the world and view the problems of America today. But I suspect that we will be able to see that the migration issue had a substantial effect, and the misperceptions that have been seeded by campaigns and by individuals like Elon Musk that have really moved the dial in this incredibly close election.
Can't provide one piece of data to back up that claim, dude. Come on.
A few tens of thousands of votes in a few counties around the country. And
and he doesn't substantiate that claim at all. Remember back in 2020, the Facebook censoring of the Hunter Biden laptop story? That was actually real and proved out to be true. This guy's just making all these wild claims. Nothing to back these up.
We may see, what we may be able to sort of discern as we disaggregate the data over a longer period of time is just the impact of that disinformation, those disinformation narratives.
Your center is called the Center for Countering Digital Hate. Is there a way, really, to counter digital hate, or, I mean, has the horse bolted? I mean, is it too late?
Countries like the United Kingdom have passed the Online Safety Act in the past 12 months or so. The European Union has passed the digital.
The United Kingdom are putting people in prison for things they say on social media. We do not want that in North America or in the Western world. That is ridiculous, dude.
Services Act. Canada has been talking about an Online Harms Act for quite some time now, but not actually passed it. And so there are countries which are moving to protect the integrity of their information ecosystem.
Do you want this guy in charge of telling you what you can and can't say on social media? Please no. This guy, again, is giving me the creeps, probably to people watching, as well. This guy's ridiculous.
And look, it's become increasingly clear that as social media becomes the primary place where we share information, we negotiate our values, our norms, but also where we negotiate what we decide to be true, what facts are. And as these platforms have been able to shift reality for many members of the public, well,
one piece of data, dude. Give one piece of evidence to back up that reality's being shifted for people.
the question becomes, what will countries do to preserve the integrity of their information ecosystem, which is so vital to our democracy?
Mm-hmm. And we haven't even discussed the issue of foreign interference. And
look, we have an array of hostile countries, many of which are anti-democratic by instinct. And for all of those countries, they have found it remarkably easy to gain access to the public discourse, to be able to shape narratives, to be able to shift perceptions. And that's because we've made this bizarre decision as countries to open up a direct line between Vladimir Putin, Xi Jinping, and the Ayatollah and our public through social media platforms in which they're able to conceal their identity.
What does this guy want, though? Like a closed social media? Other countries cannot interact with the United States or Canada or other countries? What is this guy's utopian vision? Again, this guy's entire worldview on this free speech is incredibly weird.
Identities conceal their intent and instead slowly drip hate and disinformation into our public.
Oh my goodness. So enough of that guy. Do you want to turn over the social media, control of social media to him or people like him or groups like he represents? I don't think so. Come on.
there is no official call yet, and the numbers that we're looking at right now for the Electoral College, 230 for Trump, Harris 210. Is it your estimation that it's still far too close to call?
I think it's leaning Trump still.
You do? Okay.
Yeah, I think the data suggests that. Obviously,
at this point in the night, it was incredibly obvious that it was leaning Trump. And again, Kamala needed a miracle.
Campaign message for 471 days, right? That this country is broken, that it's never been this bad before, that inflation is through the roof, that crime is up. A lot of things that frankly aren't true. Inflation has come down. Crime is not the worst it's ever been. A lot of things he said that simply aren't true, but people have taken them as gospel.
Like, that is clearly so biased, and either she's lying or she just does not understand how inflation works. If you have years of high inflation and then 1 year it comes back close to the target range of 2%, it's still a massive problem. Biden's inflation record is 3 times as high as it was under Trump's administration. The inflation is still a massive problem, even if for a little bit it's gotten back to 2%. It's incredible how many of these reporters do not seem to understand that. And here's the moment the member of Kamala's campaign said that Kamala will not be speaking tonight.
So thank you. We believe in you. May God bless you. May God keep you. And go HU and go Harris.
And I believe he just said, we didn't hear the top, but that she's not going to appear there tonight.
Yeah, if there's a moment that feels exactly like Hillary Clinton 2016, it's that.
Things are looking up, I think we can say, for former President Donald Trump.
Yes, Georgia has just been formally declared for him.
Yeah, I had said it was, AP had declared it earlier. I was wrong, but now it has been declared for former President Trump. So that's North Carolina and Georgia that are in his camp. And we know he is still, number of votes still being counted in other battleground states, but he is leading in Pennsylvania, Michigan, Wisconsin, and Arizona.
And Nevada as well.
And Nevada.
That's all 7 swing states right there.
These are leading. These are not declared. But it is evidence that it's going his way tonight.
For sure. Yeah, I mean, we still have to wait and see, but it's definitely trending in that direction right now.
All right. So we are going to continue.
That is such a funny clip. Going his way. At this point in the night, he was in the neighborhood of 96 to 99% odds of winning.
From him, I think that's
RFK Jr.
Yeah,
who's been promised charge of healthcare in this country.
Yes, he's been promised to be put in charge of public health administration in the United States, which is for a lot of people a frightening prospect because he has said a lot of wild and unsubstantiated things about a range of things, including vaccines. All right, we are watching.
Such fair coverage.
Harris made a point of saying she would be the president for all the people if she won. Donald Trump talks about inclusion too, but he also talks so disparagingly at times about his political opponents and about, a range of things, as we know. Can you see him, if in fact he is victorious, broadening the tent?
I don't think so.
I can't help but point out that Donald Trump said a lot of things that simply weren't true, though, too, repeatedly, over and over
Absolutely.
and over and over again.
Absolutely.
So
Absolutely.
yes, he spoke the truth about some things, but he also just told a whole lot of lies.
Oh, absolutely.
To which there was not a lot of pushback in a lot of sort of social media spheres and, what would you call it, sympathy.
There is tons of pushback to Donald Trump all the time. He probably has the most pushback, arguably, of anybody in American history. Because of the internet, it's so amplified. But of anyone in the last 10 years, there's been probably the most pushback, not even probably. Donald Trump would be number one in the entire world for amount of pushback.
Pathetic media, where he was just allowed to get away with a lot of stuff.
Yeah, I mean, I think...
Okay, so I'll end the video there. Thank you very much for watching. I wonder if legacy media, mainstream media, whatever, will ever stop being biased. Will it just continue to be replaced more and more by independent media? I don't know, but with that said, thank you very much, as I said, for watching. Like and subscribe. Leave a comment. I'll see you in the next video.